So I know that you also on your podcast, but also I've seen some YouTube videos. You've talked about some daily tips or some ways in which you have worked with the condition of having anosmia and how you've coped. So could you share some of these tips with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, now that I'm so long in, I don't focus on it as much now as I did at the beginning, even though it's my career path now. But like I do focus on it, but it's not like my primary focus, if that makes sense. But I have found in general, like doing yoga, journaling, going on walks, that these things are helpful for me in managing my mental health in all areas of my life, but they definitely help, like when you're living with anosmia. I'm a big proponent of therapy. I go to therapy regularly. I think it's awesome. You get to go and talk to someone about your life and complain about anything you want, and they have to listen to you. So it's like perfect. So I definitely recommend that to anyone, but specifically if you're dealing with smell dysfunction, that you have a space, a safe space where you can go and talk about it. Over the years as well, I've also come to terms with the fact that anosmia is such a huge loss in my life. So I view it as that and I accept it as such. So what I mean by that is if you're familiar with like Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's 5 stages of grief, she talks about denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. I think that smell loss or smell dysfunction that doesn't resolve over time is a loss. And so for me, I've come to recognize that it's like very cyclical and it's okay to go through the different stages of grief about it. Most of the time I live in acceptance and I'm relatively okay, but sometimes I'm still like really angry or I'll get really sad and really depressed about it, and that's okay. I'm still dealing with this 14 years in, and I know that however I'm feeling, it's going to be cyclical and it's going to move in and out of these different stages for me. So it's not like oh, I lost my sense of smell. Now I'm sad about it. And now I'm okay for the rest of my life and I'm done with that. That's not how grief works, right? It's very back and forth, up and down. So I am allowed to be sad about it. I am allowed to be like pissed off about it. I'm allowed to feel however I feel. And like accepting that has been so helpful for me because there is no like, you should just be okay and happy and like move on. That's not how life works. And so I think that I would offer that as a coping skill to anyone who's listening or who's dealing with these issues. It's okay to have emotions about your loss because it is a big loss. It's normal.
Yeah, I've never thought about it that way, but that's really great way how you put it, that it's that you're grieving the loss of your sense of smell, and that's a way of perceiving that loss. And have you talked to other people who are anosmic about this way that you look at the loss of your anosmia, or like does that also resonate with others, or is this kind of your own perspective?
I mean, it took me a long time to get there, right? Because I was like, why am I still sad about this? Like, why am I still upset? It's been so long. Like, I should just be fine, right? And then my other good piece of advice is stop shoulding all over yourself. I don't know who told me that, maybe a therapist, but like, you shouldn't should yourself, right? You don't have to feel anyway. You shouldn't feel a certain this way or that. So, I have spoken to a couple of guests about this concept. And actually, my mom, she's a mental health counselor. And so she came on the podcast and we had a conversation about this exact topic. And so it was really great to like speak with her and like dive into this concept with her a little bit further. But definitely I feel like there are other people in the anosmia community who resonate with this because it's not just something that you get over, right? And maybe you do. Like maybe someone is at that point where they're just like absolutely happy living in acceptance and that's where they hang out and that's where they stay. And that's wonderful, but I think it's okay to go back and forth through the stages.
And I guess this would be different for someone who had congenital anosmia, who lost it from the beginning of their life, than for someone like you who has actually lost it,
I
right?
mean, typically when I speak with people who have congenital anosmia, they definitely have a different lived experience, right? Because it's not something that they had and then they lost. It's something that they grew up with not having. But I do think it's absolutely okay if they have different feelings about this, feeling angry that they didn't have a sense of smell, or feeling depressed about it, or just wanting it to be different. Like, that's also a valid way to feel because they were denied something that other people have. So they may be experiencing it as its own type of loss, even though they didn't have it in the beginning.
Yeah. Wow. This is a really interesting conversation.